Hello and a very warm welcome to Weekly Current Affairs. Today is Saturday, 12th of November. My name is Madhusudan Reddy and I will be taking up this miscellaneous session of current affairs, those which I have figured out in the various newspapers in the past 1 week. So I have come up with most relevant articles in the last 1 week, and all other subjects have been dealt from Monday to Friday, and Saturday I will be taking up this miscellaneous component. Right. So today the articles that we are going to discuss are: first one, what is an airshed? Airshed, which has been in news recently regarding the COP27. We'll be discussing what is an airshed, how is the management of the airshed is being taking place in India, and what are the government recommendations that have been done, what are the programs that are involved in. The second article we'll be taking up is the issue of ongoing between US and China. So US has banned its chips exporting to China, and now is that going to be a spillover, and what are the preliminary point of view, mains का point of view से क्या है, ये चीज़ हम डिस्कस करने वाले. इसके साथ साथ we'll also be taking up another issue, that is Pashmina and Santusht. See, recent times there was an issue with respect to Kashmir shawls, जिसमें Pashmina goats are very famous. The Pashmina sheeps and goats, these sheeps, इनकी जो shawls में it is said that there is Santusht guard which is found. Now what is this Santusht? Santusht is nothing but one of another animal which is endangered in the name of Chiru, is found in Tibet. So we have to know these aspects from preliminary point of view. Mains point of view से ये इतना relevance नहीं है, but prelims में yes, the relevance of the question is very high, especially for this topic. Now let's quickly discuss what all these are. First one, so recently there's a traders association in Kashmir and Ladakh which says that they have been raided by CBI and other enforcement directorate organizations. In this due process, they have come up with an issue. A issue came into the light. It said that Pashmina shawls जो है ना, उस shawls के अंदर there is an other animals Santusht. Santusht is nothing but it is the fur of the other animal. Now what is this other animal? This other animal is nothing but the Tibetan Chiru. See, both Tibetan Chiru as well as the Pashmina, these are the two animals which the wool, they use the wool of these animals and they make the shawls, and they are very famous across the world. The only difference between the shawls which are made up of Pashmina goat and Tibetan Chiru is that the shawls of the Tibetan Chiru is very soft. Because of this there is huge demand. But the problem here is this one or this species has the status of endangered. So it is as per the CITES, Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species, it is that these species are not allowed to be traded. So let's quickly discuss the nuances that are found in the newspaper. First one, what is a Santusht and what is a Pashmina? See, Santusht is nothing but a name given to the wool. It is not the animal, but it's the wool of that animal. Which animal? It is the Tibetan Chiru or antelope. Now members of this endangered species are trapped and then they are killed, and finally the fine fleece has been extracted from that, right? And the other way, it is Pashmina. Pashmina is a shawl which comes from Pashmina goat. It is a Tibetan mountain goat. While what do they do is they do not kill the animal, but what do they do is they take out the fur of this animal, and slowly at the end, when it is no longer in a position to grow this fur, it will be killed, right, for the meat and all. Now that is the basic difference, and from the preliminary point of view there are other small points which you need to know. First one is Tibetan antelope, a factual content, it is also called as Chiru. What is the status of it? Its status is endangered, and it is also IUCN status is something different. We'll see in the next slide. Next one, it is endemic to Tibetan Plateau. Yes, it is only found in Tibetan Plateau, that too in the Changtang Plateau. Next one, it is native to China and some parts of the Tibetan Plateau, but see, in Nepal it is already extinct. In India it is endangered. Across the world it is IUCN wise it is near threatened. So these are the categories. Next, there is a difference between a male Chiru and a female Chiru. A male Chiru has two horns like this. A female Chiru do not have it, but the fur in the male Chiru is more productive than the fur in the female Chiru. So the shawls are made from the Santusht, which is nothing but the guard hair. And when you look into the articles also mention about few acts which are relevant to the examination. Now first one which talks about is the Wildlife Protection Act. This Wildlife Protection Act, under this the Schedule 1 animal are the one which is most protected animals. This Schedule 1 animal your chiru is also a schedule 1 animal, but Pashmina goat is not a schedule 1 animal. You can use that. You can use it for day-to-day activities also. Next international law which deals with the trading of this chiru is CITES. Now what do you mean by CITES? CITES is nothing but it is Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species. That means any endangered species you are not supposed to trade its products living or dead. Third one, it is IUCN status near threatened globally, but when it comes to India it is an endangered species, right? So the prohibition, it includes the CITES in 1979 and their prohibition in sale, trade and Santush shawls are considered to be one of the crimes, right? Now that's it. That's from the preliminary point of view. The scope of this article is not much relevant to the mains examination. Now let's quickly move to the next article, which is a mains perspective article, and in this you need to know the interests of India as well as the interests of the world globally also. So last month there was an issue that China jitne bhi export hote the, the chips that are being exported from US to China, they are now put ban. And this month what they have done is complete ban on chips that are being transported to China or exported to China. So what are these chips? These chips are nothing but the mobile which you use runs through a chip called semiconductors. And these chips are of two types. One is artificial intelligence induced chips and other one is CPU chips. CPU chips are those chips which you use in your television channels and you use it in small equipments, mobiles and all. But there are big chips or artificially introduced chips. These chips can be utilized in advanced machine learnings. So China ke liye US has completely put a ban. So is that going to impact India? Now this is one of the biggest question. Secondly, in this there are some issues we need to consider. Firstly, let's look into this article. There are multiple articles in various newspapers, so I have taken the headlines and I have put it here. Firstly, see, China's crisis sends global shivers. Yes, it is true. Now what is China's crisis? China's crisis is it is no longer getting the semiconductors in the form of chips that are required. Second one, US semiconductor ban targets highest of the Chinese high tech. Third one, export ban on some advanced AI chips to hit almost all Chinese tech major analysts. So we have to understand why US has put a ban onto China. Why only China? Why not to anyone? You need to know this. See, recently US has come up with a act called the Chips and Science Act Bill. Now what does this act say? It says that to bolster or to increase the US leadership in semiconductors, what they have done, the Chips and Science and Tech Act provides 52.7 billion for American semiconductors research, development, manufacturing and workforce development. So as per this, they wanted to increase their semiconductor production, and also the reason that they have cited for the banning of semiconductor transportation to or chips, artificially introduced chips to China is that it is US is going to face a national security. Now what is chips, itne se choti chips, how are they creating a national security to US? You need to know this. Firstly, let's go back to an article which has been mentioned back in 2020. See, in the 2020, let me show you. Just a minute. So in the 2020 and last month or so, there are a couple of articles which were talking about the defense systems of US are under stress. What are these defense systems? See, last month also in the month of June, there was an article in the Semiconductors and National Defense. It says that it is part of the Center for Strategic and International Studies. It is one of the most advanced studies which will be taking place across the globe. So see here, let me read the lines for you. It says that all major US defense systems and platforms rely on semiconductors for their performance. All the major US defense systems, matlab their equipments, their manufacturing units, their processings, their transportation also is dependent upon this chip system. So after the post-Ukraine and Russia war, the chip manufacturing unit and semiconductor units, already a globe has once seen a crisis. Now is this a second wave of crisis which is it going to see? Yes, of course. It is soon going to see, the world is going to see, because China, once it takes a hit, the next hit will be on India itself. Why? I'll tell you in the next couple of minutes how is it going to take place. But for now, let's read this literature here. It says that all the major US defense systems and platforms rely on semiconductors for their performance. Consequently, the erosion of US capabilities in microelectronics is a direct threat to the United States' ability to defend itself and its allies. Now what do you mean by this? See, if there is a shortage of chips, artificial intelligence used chips or semiconductor manufacturings, it is said that the defense capabilities of the US are going to fail, because their defense systems are dependent upon these semiconductors, and US is one of the giant in manufacturing the design of these chips. But most of the designs that are being manufactured in US, they are transported to elsewhere and then they are assembled, and China being the world's manufacturer hub, China needs those semiconductors, China needs those chips. So here it is very, very important to know that there is a huge crisis which is yet to come. So these are some of the articles which are being talked about since 2020 April, but the limelight is just yet to begin onto these topics. So I have taken this topic, so whenever you get any articles on the chips, you should be independent enough to understand them. What is the background and the issue here? That is what is my agenda for you to give this topic. And nextly, let's quickly get on. See, there are two different types of chips, and many reports says that artificial intelligence jo hai, it will help in national and international securities. So of course this is true from the sentences which you have read it, right? And artificial intelligence, you need to understand that. So what is artificial intelligence? An artificial intelligence is nothing but a set of softwares, a set of machines which these softwares are using. So can you control a software? My question is, can you regulate a software? A person sitting somewhere inside can make that softwares. So it is very, very difficult for the government to control those softwares. So what does the government do? Government simply puts the hardware that uses the software. So if you put a ban on these hardwares by making software, what are you going to do? You cannot do anything. So US is now testing on its artificial intelligence and its defense, and it says that artificial intelligence will help in national and international securities. Of course, artificial intelligence, when you are thorough with that, they are going to fight wars in the future. But let's keep this topic aside and try to understand from the preliminary point of view, what do you mean by artificially introduced chips as well as the chips of CPU. See, there are two different types of chips. Artificial intelligence chips are the one which the artificial intelligence is induced into these chips. The machines and programs will use the softwares of artificial intelligence, and CPU chips are those chips which you generally use it in your mobile, maybe a mouse or maybe old televisions which they used to use. But today, mostly it is because of the artificial introduced chips itself, the advanced learnings are going to take place. You talk about blockchain technology, you talk about the advanced defense systems, you talk about the banking system, they are now going for machine learning, right? So any advanced data analysis always uses this artificial intelligence chips, not the normal processor. So hum quickly differences dekh lete hain. What is the difference between a normal chip and an artificial introduced chip? Let's read the literature here. AI chip is a specialized chip, and whereas normal chip is a CPU chip, central processing units chip. Whereas you come here, AI chips refers to a system that uses multiple processors, each with specialized functions. हर एक chip में एक अलग specialized functions होगा, and these chips are interrelated also. But on the other side, if this one chip is made, that chip can be used for only one particular purpose. Lastly, AI chip can handle specific program tasks much faster and efficient than normal CPUs can manage. Yes, they are faster, can manage multiple tasks, and can also handle single task at a faster rate, but they do not have the same capabilities and they do not have the learning mechanisms, right? In all this, recently there is one more topic which the newspapers have been talking about, that is Moore's law. This is a very technical term, but I have introduced here so that you get to know what exactly is a Moore's law. ये इतना important नहीं है, but this gives the essence to understand and write some tidbit points to your value addition in mains. Now what do you mean by Moore's law? See, Moore's law is one such law which says that suppose if you manufacture a chip today or a semiconductor, in this the amount of transformers which you are going to use, by the next 2 years you are going to double it. This is what the Moore's law says. Right, let me read it. It is an observation that number of transistors on a microchip roughly doubles every 2 years. So every 2 years there is going to be double of the transistors. So the production of transistors also increases as you start to increase the chips. But see guys, when you start to use the artificially introduced chip, it says that it's not 2 years, for the consecutive 26 years of gap can be reduced and it can be artificial introduced chips are cheaper, and then they are more faster, and the number of transistors that are used there will be doubled in just a matter of hardly 2 months. So 2 years component will come near to 2 months, or in simple terms, in order to say that the AI chips are 26 times faster, and also they can use near about the chips transistors at a 26 times faster rate. Now in all this chaos, let us try to understand where exactly is the largest production of the chips takes place. Firstly, design takes place in US, and then that design is being transported to China, especially Chinese part. The issue between Taiwan and China sabko pata hi hai. So Taiwan is the largest manufacturer of the chips in the world. Look here, 70 to 75% of the chips made anywhere in the world are assembled here, and they are manufactured here itself. So Taiwan is the greatest source, and you know the issue between Taiwan and China, right? So China is again feeling the threat regarding these semiconductors. Nextly, there are other areas, Netherlands and Japan, they are also producing at a faster rate, and the other one is South Korea. These are the only nations across the world where they have sizable amount of semiconductors. Now together you put all, they cannot beat the US. Why? You know, US is the fundamental basis, that is where the designs of the chips happen. Now even if all these countries come together to make a chip, a unified chip, it is very difficult to get one in the next 1 or 2 years, or else to make a hub of a manufacturing industries, it is going to take time. How much? A decade or so. So it is very important to know the issues in these aspects. And nextly, see guys, the issue of chips onto India. How are we going to get impacted because of the issue of semiconductors? See, semiconductors and chips, they are widely used in these processes. You use a laptop, you will have it. You use a mobile, you will have it. You use a car, you will have it. And banking services, any infrastructure, it will have it. In this, you need to know that most of these manufacturing units and their raw materials, their assembled products mostly are in India, but their raw materials and their manufacturing units and other allied activities are produced in China. So the production of China will get down. When the production of China will get down or drop down, it will have a spillover effect on rest of the world. So directly or indirectly, the act of US is going to take impact on India, not immediately but in the near future. Yes, definitely. How long? Only time and tide can wait and see. So we have to wait and see. So in all this, our selfish question is, can we have a replaceable entity? Can India be the alternative solution? Can India get a demand, or can India be the alternative solution for the chips? We have to say that our Indian market is not yet ready yet. मतलब अभी तक तो ready नहीं है. Maybe in the future we might. So the government should look forward for this angle as well. So in India, the manufacturing chips are mostly associated with CPUs but not AIs. So we have to invest more on the AI so that we can meet the demand of the future and get the chaos out. Right? This is what is our article talking about. And the next article which talks about is the current ongoing pollution. Everyone is aware, someone in the North India, you might be knowing the gravity of this topic. Every year there is a question in UPSC mains as well as prelims. So let's quickly see this. Firstly, explained ideas mein ek article aaya tha, why agricultural subsidies worsen air pollution in North India. There is also another article which talks about our choking cities, how we can improve and add water quality in the urban spaces. See guys, there is also another article, in the hope for a clear blue sky. ये articles काफी time हमने discuss किया था, but लेकिन this time I have come up with a new topic that is called as air shed. What do you mean by air shed? See, air shed is one topic which is in news and circulating in the newspaper. Even the COP27 is talking about air shed management. So what do you mean by air shed firstly? If you know, please comment in the comment section. See, an air shed is one such area which is defined by World Bank as a common geographical area where pollutants get trapped and create similar air quality for everyone. So you go to northern part of India, all the way from Ganga se lekar, where the origins of the Ganga take place near about in the Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, south of these hills se lekar, until the West Bengal, we are having a similar kind of air quality. Now that is your air shed. For this air shed, it is very important to manage that air shed, because a political units will have a boundary but not the pollution. A pollution, if you are doing it in Pakistan, it will come to India. If you are doing pollution, it will go to Bangladesh. In India, you do it, it go to Bangladesh. So pollution do not have boundaries. So it is very important to go for boundary management, international management in terms of this pollution. So you need a greater organization larger than a nation, that is your World Bank. So World Bank has come up with one such plan which is called as airshed management plan, and in India it want to implement. Already we are implementing similar such kind of plans, but let us see what does the World Bank want to do and what are the guidelines which it has given to India. आप ऐसे करो ताकि हम pollution handle करें. It also gave guidelines to Pakistan, it also gave guidelines to Bangladesh. It is asking the entire airshed which is having a similar quality of air all the way from Rawalpindi in Pakistan se lekar Bangladesh in the south. So it is very important article here. Let's quickly delve into this. What is the articles talking about? Firstly, the World Bank is now developing a country's first largest airshed action plan. Yes, it is already in action in the name of National Action Plan on Climate Change. इसी में integrate करके we are using the technologies and we are getting into that. Next one, the Indo-Gangetic Plains is one of the most polluted areas in the country, contributing to 46% of the premature deaths with respect to pollution. So the airshed management services or the airshed area, it says that it is extending all the way from Rawalpindi in Pakistan से लेकर रंगपुरा in the north east Bangladesh. ये काफ़ी बड़ा area है. So it simply means somewhere here to लेकर into the Bangladesh. This is having a unified air quality which is very poor quality as per the World Bank. Now why is this area having? Firstly, multiple reasons है. Stubble burning is not just a single reason, it is only one of the reason. We name and point to stubble burning, but stubble burning contributions are less than 10%. Rest of the pollutions which takes place are very big. So for this you need to go for much more bigger plans. Now what are these much more bigger plans? See guys, the much more bigger plans are already in action. That is, we already went in for graded action plan. Now graded response action plan already है. So ये graded response action plan क्या है? Suppose if the pollution levels are at a higher rate, then the curbs will also be like a higher rate protection will be given. Maybe it is asking the construction to stop. It is asking the enforcement ban on firecrackers ban karo. उस time तक when the fire or when the pollution comes to a little more normal, then it is asking to do these activities. I know you guys are very much equipped with this because we have discussed this topic very well in the previous past. So what we'll be doing is, I'll be directly going to the solutions, what are the methods and the techniques that can be used to combat the pollution in the northern India. Now it is a multi-dimensional pollution. It says that the pollution in the Indian part of the airshed is because of many reasons. It is also because of your air pollution which is caused because of the transportation sector. It is also because household residential pollutions, industrial pollution भी है, solid waste management pollution भी है. It is also a pollution because of construction and demolition, soil and road dust का भी pollution है, and finally bricklin as well as biomass. If you don't take all of these departments into consideration while you are dealing with the pollution, the World Bank says that you are going to fail. Now how to act? What are the technologies you need to bring in? As a UPSC aspirant, you need to know, if not all, 50% of this content you should be ready with to write a better answer. So let's quickly discuss here one by one. First one, vehicular pollution के लिए क्या करना चाहिए हमें? See, already vehicular pollution के लिए in India we have some schemes, and what are these schemes? It says that fast tracking the electric vehicles की subsidy दे दो, improve the electric vehicle efficiencies and provide subsidies in terms of registration, marketing access दे दो electric vehicles को, an alternative solution to the transportation. Other one is road and pathway widening. आप roads widen करो ताकि vehicles will not stop for longer duration and reduce the pollution. The second way, by using all of this, what we have done is we went in for Bharat 6 stage, BS stage 6 गया था. We went there and finally diesel exhaust retrofitting किया. Yes, it's a very good thing. Is it sufficient? The answer is no again. We have to take up these projects at a faster rate. Now the second aspect is reduce the pollution which is caused due to residential activities, for which we also went in for many schemes in India. The famous scheme that is giving free cylinders to households, and the second one, clean cooking alternatives. Go for biomass, go for other clean cooking alternatives. In this, while you go for clean cooking alternatives like electric cookers and all, it is also asking you go for grid system in your home. Put solar panels so that use that electricity to use for your households, so that it is a natural energy एंड वेराज इंडिया में जो पावर जनरेट हो रहा है वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा पावर थर्मल पावर प्लांट से जनरेट होता है, सो दैट एटलीस्ट in one way we can reduce. And the other way of to deal with the industrial pollution, what we have to do, regular stack monitoring should be done, and migration to the natural gas. We have to move to the natural gas from the fossil fuels, as well as the government came up with safe fly ash disposable management schemes. So ये fly ash को cement के साथ and construction in roads में use किया करो, या they are asking the fly ash should be used within the 100 kilometers area itself. It is giving free of cost to many areas. And next one, air pollution control equipment पे invest ज़्यादा करो. Make these products very cheaper, though it is adaptive or mitigative mechanisms लेके आओ. This is what the action plan talks about. And the other way, it also talks about solid waste burning systems. Now what do you mean by solid waste burning systems? The dump yards and all, they are all nothing but your solid waste burning systems, for which open MSW burning tracking system leke ho. If someone is burning something in the open system, identify them and find them. And also decentralized collections of disposable we have to use. And formalizing the segregation of recycling industries and sectors. I'll quickly read out, because this slides you can get it from Raj Malhotra IAS Telegram channel. The link will be provided in the description. Right. Next, construction and demolition. What you have to do? Go for green buildings. In this, screens and dust separations के लिए green screens लेके आओ और green sheds. Next, construction and dust waste management का processing industry बनाओ. As well as it is also asking for soil and dust. How do you reduce the soil and dust? It is asking wall to wall brick paving करो. Then it is asking for mechanized sweeping. You go for not the manual sweeping, mechanized sweeping, so that it can be done at a faster rate. Next, green buffers and afforestation. Between every roads, what do you have to do is go for green buffers. Next, take actions on the bricklin industry. Burning waste within the cities is banned, and also we have to go for zigzag methodology of the bricklin technology. What do you mean by this zigzag? Earlier the old technologies are so much of pollution industries which gives out from the bricklins. Now as the air moves in a zigzag manner, it will be very easy, so that zigzag technology will stop the pollution entering into the atmosphere that can be collected at a lower end. Next one is the biomass burning. See, biomass burning is one such issue of all the pollutions. This biomass burning is nothing but your stubble burning. So look here. Of all the concentrations of the pollution, our concentration in the winters is mostly here. Instead, the World Bank says that go for a complete action plan. Or what is this action plan? Go for a go for an airshed action plan. ये airshed action plan पाकिस्तान को भी करना चाहिए, बांग्लादेश को भी करना चाहिए, इंडिया को भी करना चाहिए. जब साथ साथ चलेगा तभी एक solution मिलेगा. And yes, of course, airshed management कहीं और दुनिया में है. Have you ever seen it some other parts of the world? The answer is yes. In the British Columbia, and the US together they have done it. So when they have done it, why can't we do it? We can do it with the social connections in India are very good as compared to the US. And lastly, let's quickly deal with this. It is the horticultural waste composing plants leke aao, and then biomass power generations also need to be bought in. For this, commercial biomass use restriction करना चाहिए, or else it is also asking buy the farmer से stubble खरीद लो and then use it for bioethanol production. Already एक बठिंडा में हमने plant set किया. Now this is something we have to look forward. But mostly, see guys, whenever you write your answer, you should not concentrate on this part. There are multiple components. Of all 8 components, we concentrate mostly here, but the answer should be covering all of these aspects. And there will be a seize the mains question. That seize the mains question will be provided in the description below. Please make sure to write that seize the mains question and get that evaluated from our experts. It is very helpful for you guys. It is not just about you learning a concept, you need to write that concept also. Your preparation gets completed when you read, write and revise. Reading alone is not your completion of your preparation. Writing alone is not. Revision is also important. And that revision can happen in an effective way only when you get an effective answer analyzed and checked, right? And the last article for today is India at 75, melting glaciers, heat waves and cities. So we have talked many times about the glaciers, but now today what I am going to take up is the melting of a glacier. How does a glacier melt? Glacier can melt because of various reasons, but when a glacier melts, it melts from both the top and the bottom. So a glacier is nothing but a permanent ice or temporary ice, and this glacier keeps on moving. So there are glaciers which are present in the high altitudes, there are glaciers which are present in the North Pole and South Pole. So those glaciers which are present on the continent, if they start to melt, the sea level rises, and the COP27 says that the melting is at a faster rate. When this melts, there is some dark matter, or sorry, there is some dark elements which are present on the earth. The dark surfaces can get exposed to the atmosphere and they can quickly get eroded. So to understand this, first let us understand the process of melting of a glacier. See, a glacier can melt from both the bottom as well as the top. From the top, the glacier melts primarily because of the heat that is receiving, or the atmosphere, and this glacier has not exposed the area of the surface for millions of years because it is a permanent ice. Now when glacier starts to melt at the top because of the atmospheric temperature, here you need to know the water always goes from the bottom. Now the water gets heated and the water will start to melt the glacier even from the bottom also. Look into the side profile of this. There is cold water at the top and the warm water. Why do you have this warm water? It is because the melted water will go down and from beneath it will also start to melt. Now the glacier is melting from the top and it is also melting from the bottom. So ultimately some portion of the glacier breaks off, and this will turn out to be our iceberg. So when these icebergs form, they can get melted little more easier, they can travel at faster rate due to the global atmospheric circulation changes. So now you need to understand that the glacier, when it is getting exposed, this glacier, what it does is it exposes certain parts of the land or area which it has never seen that sunlight. So that is so dark. That dark matter, or that dark part of the oceans and the continents, when they get exposed, they get heated at a faster rate because there is so much of carbon dioxide that is trapped within them. There is so much of greenhouse gases which are present, they can trap the heat at a faster rate. So the melting of a glacier is always melting at a double X. It is at 2x. Today you burn 100 kgs, the next year it will be 200 kgs, and the next year it will be 400 kgs, and the next year it is 800. It is always exponential melting, that is called as amplification of glacier melting. This amplification of the glacier melting is one of the biggest threat we are going to see in the near time future. So the COP is already on talks. So let's wait for the results of the COP27, and next week I, Madhusudan Reddy, will be coming up more relevant articles and the most beautiful content you could ever wait for. If you do like it, please press that like button and also share us your experience about this particular session, and any doubts regarding this session you can simply drop me a message on this and I'll be addressing personally your doubts. This is my contact number and my name is Madhusudan Reddy. Thank you guys, and see you next week with more relevant UPSC content. Thank you.